Thank you so much. It's always so encouraging to get a round of applause before I even said a word. Good afternoon, lovely people. My name is Zulum Elumogo. I'm a 6'2" black man in my 20s, just about, and I'm wearing a black bomber jacket, black trousers, and black shoes. My pronouns are he, him. It's a real honor to deliver you this closing keynote for what's been an energizing conference here in London. I'm also aware that I'm the last man standing between you and your evening plans, and that is a power I will wield with great mercy, you'll be pleased to hear. Now, I don't do passive audiences, so I'm going to need you all to lean in, specifically stand up when we do a quiz so you can get to know me just a little bit better. So, first question. Where do you think I was born? Stand up if you think I was born in London. Confidence, love that. Okay, stand up if you think I was born in Lagos. Good. And stand up if you think I was born in New York City. All right, you held out till last, and you are correct. I was born in New York City, indeed. Yes, absolutely. Well done, everyone. Okay, now on to my studies. I moved to this city 11 years ago to study at the LSE. What do you think I studied? Stand up if you think I studied economics. Okay, stand up if you think I studied social policy. All right, and stand up if you think I studied design and culture. All right, so I studied social policy with government. That was my degree course. Just goes to show, hey, the arts is a welcoming place. Okay, final question. Where did I start my career? Was it in student governance and leadership? Stand up if you think that was where I began, my first job. Okay, yeah, decent amount of people, that's good. Stand up if you think I got the start in advertising and branding. That was my first job. Okay, less people that time. And thirdly, public relations. Please stand up if you think that's where I had my first job. Good. Okay, so you're all correct to some degree. Slight trick question. My first paid role was in governance and student leadership. I was president of the London School of Economics Student Union. My first internship was in advertising and branding, so that was very formative for my experience and showed me this amazing world I'm in now. But my first private sector job was in public relations, so well done, everybody, you are correct. Okay, so who am I? Well, I'm a young leader with a desire to serve others in a creative way. Right now, I'm predominantly doing that through my role as managing director of TC & Friends, which is an international design and branding agency. I'm also a board member of London's Barbican Centre, Europe's largest multi-arts venue, and the vice chair of the Fair Education Alliance, England's largest coalition of organizations focused on ensuring that no child's success is limited by their socioeconomic background. So I'm a busy boy, but a busy boy with a purpose. And today, this afternoon, I've got three simple but powerful messages for you. Provide others the permission to dream. Be a waymaker, not a gatekeeper, which our industry can be famous for, and let your light shine. But first, let's take it back to 1976. So the world is changing. Mao Zedong has just died. The Soweto uprising has brought the horrors of apartheid to the world's attention for the first time. Apple released their first product, the Apple I, and Stevie Wonder released what I think is the greatest album of all time, Songs in the Key of Life. In January of the following year, Nigeria hosts Festac 77, the second ever World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture. Widely considered to be the climax of the Pan-African movement, Festac 77 was a month-long Olympic-style cultural festival that celebrated African dance, drama, music, fine art, and literature. With over 15,000 participants from over 70 countries, including the African diaspora in the Americas, the Caribbean, and Australasia, it was the largest Pan-African festival in world history. Here's a little video to show you some more.
Festac 77, the second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture, held in Nigeria, brought together 15,000 participants from over 70 countries. At the official opening ceremony in the Lagos National Stadium, contingents from 47 countries paraded before government officials, visiting heads of state, and a capacity crowd of 100,000. The first contingent was from Ethiopia, which is to host the next festival. The aims of this festival were to revive and promote Black and African cultural values and civilization, to illustrate the various contributions that Black and African peoples have made to the universal currents of thought and the arts, to foster better international and interracial understanding, and to give Black artists, writers, and performers all over the world a feeling of belonging to a common root, despite the diversity of their individual cultural identities.
So 2 of those 15,000 participants were actually relatives of mine. The man on the right is my grandfather, Dr. Wanne Onyemenem. He's in the traditional Igbo red cap, and he's a dancer, choreographer, writer, and educator. Very proud of him. And his cousin, the man next to him, is my great uncle, Demas Norko, who some say looks like God with the platinum hair and the platinum beard. And he is a prolific playwright, architect, and artist whose paintings you can actually see right now in the Tate Modern's Nigerian Modernism exhibition. It's beautiful. You should go and see it if you can. And in October 2024, I had the amazing privilege of holding a celebration event for my grandfather right here in London, with him reflecting on his career in the arts and on Festac 77 in particular. And what rung through from his talk and our conversation was an amazing sense of possibility and optimism that he found through living a creative life and being a creative practitioner. Festac 77 provided millions of Africans the permission to dream, perhaps for the first time, as an independent, self-determined peoples, of a life of freedom and authenticity, and of true, authentic cultural expression. So, it takes a village, and I have a brilliant one. And my message to you today is that the arts needs to be that village for society. The love, the care, the sense of belonging inherent to healthy arts organizations is what our world needs, as well as the sector's knack for innovation, experimentation, and prototyping ideas for the future. The arts provides to many, as I'm sure you know, the permission to dream. So now let's take it back again. This time to the 1990s. These are my lovely parents and my younger sister, 2 more, one other sister and brother as well, who hadn't come around by this time. They moved from Nigeria to the UK in 1994. Now I'm the son of middle-class economic migrants, with my mother a doctor and father a lawyer, which is somewhat of a cliche if you know Nigerians. Those are kind of the career options as well as engineer. So I broke out of that box at least. I'm told I was a rather boisterous kid growing up, always on the move, always causing trouble, but I'm sure it was well-intended, believe me. In fact, my catchphrase growing up was, I need to go. Need to go where, you ask? Well, just anywhere. I needed somewhere to channel my energy. And the first place that my energy found a home was Saturday drama classes at the Norwich Theatre Royal, where I grew up in the east of England. My parents enrolled me at the age of 8. Now, theatre immersed me in a world of possibility, giving me the permission to express myself. My most formative years were spent immersed in stories, learning how to perform through summer musicals like The Wind in the Willows and Peter Pan. In fact, I recently reconnected with the theatre, and I was delighted to see that they've been given the honor of a theatre of sanctuary in the city, in recognition of their commitment to being a place of support, safety, and hospitality for refugees and asylum seekers in the city of Norwich. How amazing. And what a beautiful counter-narrative in our age of xenophobia and hostile environment to foreigners. So, theatre really bred a curiosity in me, which still exists to this day. I also discovered a love of dance and choreography at the age of 14, and throughout my high school and university years, I performed hip-hop routines and contemporary dances, which I still try to hone when I can. And at a time when political forces are fawning for monochromatic homogeneity, the arts must remain a bright light and an engine for diversity to celebrate the plurality of the human expression. Kind of like Soul Train, if you will. God made us all uniquely for a purpose. Assimilation may feel comforting and safe, but in truth, it robs life of its multicolor magic. Now, as I said, growing up in Norwich, there weren't too many people who looked like me. And like any young person, I was searching for my place in the world. So, as many do, I turned to media for some answers. And one of my first places I turned was Black Entertainment Television, BET. That was my portal. And aside from the daily music roundup show of 106 in Park, if you know, you know, I was always excited to see the annual BET Hip Hop Awards, which happened every October. And at the 2011 awards, there was a Nigerian rap cypher, which I will never forget for all the wrong reasons. Now, instead of giving voice to their nation's rich culture, its dialects and unique style of storytelling, each artist actually proceeded to put on a fake American accent and attack the beat like some kind of Jay-Z or Kanye West copycat. Whatever the cause, I found it confusing and honestly quite sad. Perhaps they didn't feel empowered to authentically express who they were. Perhaps they were discouraged or told that being themselves wouldn't sell. It's a common story back then. Why didn't they feel they could share the incredibly vibrant and energetic culture I grew up knowing and loving? So it's clear that environment matters. And I doubt that those artists had an ecosystem to support and encourage their authentic creativity. So my challenge to you today is, what can you do to encourage authentic expression in your role? How can you create an environment where others can thrive and do their very best work? It can be as simple as encouraging someone who's got a uniqueness to them to keep going. I'm pleased to say the story ends well. Fast forward to today, and Afrobeats is one of the most vibrant genres on the planet, confidently led by Nigerian artists and producers. In recent years, I've had the chance to see two of the genre's brightest stars, Rema, he's on your right, and Ashake on your left, in concert here in London. And their lyrics flow effortlessly across native languages like Yoruba and Edo to Pidgin English, all of them anchored in their lived experience as young Nigerians. And it's making commercial success. In fact, Rema's song, Calm Down, which I'm sure you've heard of, was the first Afrobeat song to reach 1 billion streams on Spotify back in 2023. So it turns out that being your authentic self makes all the difference. So keep going. The world will love you eventually. Now, hands up if you've ever been to the Barbican Center. Okay, I'm in the right room. Good. You are my people. You are my people. So I first encountered the Barbican Center back in 2017 when I was a student. And it was through their Young Barbican program, £5 cinema tickets, an absolute bargain, which you can still get to this day, if of course you're within the demographic. Years later, I was fortunate enough to be invited onto the Barbican Center board. And I'm proud to say that I've been part of decisions to make the center a more welcoming and inclusive place over my 6-year tenure as a board member. I've unapologetically championed diversity and inclusion at the heart of the strategic agenda, pivoting the center from a gatekeeper to a waymaker. And I've also benefited from some waymaking myself. So back in October 2020, we had a board away day on Zoom. Those were the times. And I met my mentor and now boss, Tony Chambers. And Tony is the founder and creative director of the design agency I work for, TC and Friends. And previously, he was chief editor of Wallpaper magazine, a very prestigious design publication. And here's us looking like some very serious design professionals. And here's us on a speedboat in Venice. Now, like all the best relationships, we started with an argument about the center's direction. Of course, we're passionate people who wouldn't be on the board if we didn't care. But thankfully, we followed up with some constructive cocktails at the Barbican's Martini Bar, which you must visit if you haven't been to before. And Tony encouraged my curiosity for creativity, design, and business. For years, we would hang out, and he'd take me to design world events that really opened up my mind to that world. He let me know there was a place for me. He gave me the permission to dream. And in 2023, I joined the agency as managing director. So my message to you is be the one to open the door. Make a way for others and show them it's possible. Provide them an entry point so they know they can do it. Now, at the risk of sounding like Timothée Chalamet, Swan Lake and Shakespeare are wonderful, but we also need new legends. Nostalgia is not a strategy. Who's going to find those new legends? Who's going to fund them? Who's going to tell them to keep going when they hit those inevitable obstacles that we all do in our career? Let your light shine by sowing into others. You'll be surprised at the results. I know, yes, of course, as managing director, I'm contractually obliged to share with you our services. So do, so do get in touch if you'd like to work with us. So as I said earlier, I'm a busy boy with a purpose. And one of my most fulfilling pursuits in recent years has been revitalizing the young adults ministry within the Overseas Fellowship for Nigerian Christians ministry throughout the United Kingdom. And it's the oldest fellowship of Christians of Nigerian descent within the United Kingdom. And I've been a part of it since I was 12 years old. At our annual conference last November, I invited an amazing man for a fireside chat to speak to the 90 young people within the room. And that man was Ije Nwokori, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Doc Martens, and currently the only black chief executive on the FTSE 250. That's the UK's 250 largest companies. The room was absolutely captivated by his inspiring stories, his authenticity, ability to connect with others, his love and faith in Jesus, as well as his charismatic presence. I basically had to escort him out of the room so he could crack on with his day because the young people were mobbing him, asking him for questions and advice. We love to see it. And just look at their faces. Imagine what they're thinking. Someone like me, at the very top of British business, it's possible. Maybe I can do it too. So I want you to ask yourself, who are the EJs in your life that you can invite to inspire others? How can you give away your network to empower instead of hoarding and gatekeeping? And as we reach the curtain call on this amazing conference, I want you to remember to choose hope over fear, courage over cowardice, multicolor over grayscale, and abundance over scarcity. And you too can provide our wounded world the permission to dream of better. Thank you.